Corley Moore coming at you. Wanted to talk very briefly before the scrap starts tonight. And if you know me, you know that I love the vigilantes. I love the like-minded souls, and I'm always looking for ways that we can have more interaction. One of the things that every vigilante says when they join is they're looking to connect with those like-minded souls. They're looking to connect with other vigilantes and people who feel the way they feel. And so I'm constantly looking for ways to make that happen. So far, I love Patreon. I love Patreon for bringing us together, but it hasn't created that the ability to share information and things the way I wanted. But one thing we did discover was that Discord is integrated into Patreon. So we've been working for the last couple of weeks to launch a Discord server where the vigilantes can get together and hang out. Now, I'll be the first person to say I am not a tech guru. I'm much better at forcing doors and hook and sealing. I'm better at destroying stuff than I am at using technology. But that being said, Discord has so many options that look like they could be phenomenal for the vigilantes and for our growth and for the fellowship and the camaraderie that we want to share. It's got chat rooms that you can post in, separated by category, where we can have great discussions. It's got voice channels you can jump in and have voice discussions with people at the drop of a hat without needing to start a Zoom call or anything. You just drop in and drop out. You can share screens. We have plans. People have plans to share classes that they've built so they can get feedback before they go and teach those classes. I mean, there's so much that could be used for this Discord server, and we're just scratching the surface. So get in, come be a part of it, man. It looks to be an incredible platform. And if you want to be a part of it, head over to patreon.com/thevigilantes. Become a part, man. If you're not a vigilante, why not? $5 a month. You can't even afford a fancy coffee nowadays for $5. So $5 a month, you're a member of the like-minded souls. So come be a part. Looking forward to seeing and talking to you in the Discord. Stay safe.
In the demanding world of firefighting, training against real-world scenarios is crucial. Yet traditional training facilities often fall short in providing realistic, versatile, and cost-effective training solutions. Affordable Drill Towers presents a groundbreaking solution. By positioning an affordable drill tower alongside your existing Connex boxes burn buildings, a realm of realistic, multi-level training scenarios is unlocked. This integration has been adopted successfully by various fire departments, enhancing their training capabilities exponentially. Delve into the heart of live fire training scenarios within the Connex boxes, now amplified by the ADT's multi-floor access, providing an unparalleled training ground.
We started looking at Connex boxes about probably 10 years ago. To me, you can't beat them, especially for the price. The affordable drill tower was the same way. We've got 6 floors, we've got standpipes on every floor, we've got more anchor points than you can count, we've got removable floors, removable stairs. We can go into the 2nd and 3rd floor off the drill tower, so whether you want to use it as an external stairwell or a high-rise, we can do all that and mimic just about any type of situation that the members of the fire department might encounter.
Experience cost-effectiveness, enhanced realistic training, versatile operations, easy multi-floor access, and innovative solutions to age-old training challenges. Take your fire department's training to the next level with affordable drill towers. Reach out to Affordable Drill Towers to elevate your training capabilities today.
Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 280. My guest tonight is Chief Rick Lasky, one of my favorite guests to have on the show. He is a distinguished author, a firefighter, notably serving as fire chief of the Lewisville, Texas Fire Department. He is celebrated for his books, including Pride in Ownership and 5-Alarm Leadership, both of which emphasize leadership, tradition, and professionalism in the fire service. He has played a key role in advancing fire service education through his speaking engagements and training programs. His work has been recognized nationwide, not the least of which Tom Brennan Lifetime Achievement Award, which highlighted his impact on the firefighting community. This is the newest tradition of the Scrap, which is the year-end show with Chief Lasky. Welcome back, my brother, as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 280.
Thanks for having me again. I was looking forward to this. Every time we get together, I look forward to it. But especially to end out the year, it's always fun. You got a great following, and I love running into people that I saw you on Corey's show. I saw you on Corey, that kind of stuff. So it's awesome. But I'm honored to be here, brother. I'm honored.
Really, really glad to have you. So, is there anything I missed or anything you want to add in the intro? Anything I forgot to add?
No, just loving life. I've got the world's best granddaughter. I know everybody's got one of those. We took her to her first movie, Moana 2 or whatever at the movie theater. So we were like, that was a fun day. God, I love her so much. She makes my heart hurt. So living the dream, helping, teaching, doing things. You mentioned Louisville. I mean, just under about 12 years there as chief, and then Tim, my partner, took over. Then Mark, and they've got succession planning working there just right, just peachy, and doing our thing. The guys had a good job at the Valley Place. Sent me a picture. They're repacking a scorpion load right as we speak. So they sent that. They had a good house fire today with the neighbors. Another one yesterday. So no, everything's going great, brother. Everything's going great.
Life sounds beautiful, my man.
Oh,
beautiful.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Audience, get your questions ready for Chief Rick Lasky, the end of your show. We got new stuff to roll out for you today, not the least of which is the first of the 5 questions for firefighters version 4.0. The Vigilantes worked hard to make the new version, and the challenge at the end of the show is the Scrap Challenge. Also, we're throwing a lot of stuff at Rick, but I'm sure he can handle. So let me get to those beautiful sponsors, and then we will get to scrapping. So here we go. Affordable Drill Towers, on a mission to bring you cost-effective and versatile training props, like the Affordable Bailout Prop, which allows you to practice window bailouts, ladder bailouts, and ladder high-point rescues. Of course, they also make the Affordable Standpipe Prop, which you can roll into the classroom for standpipe theory and then roll it out into the parking lot where you can pump realistic flows and pressures. And of course, their mainstay, the Affordable Drill Tower. It comes in several configurations and standard with a standpipe system. You can choose from 1 or 2 sets of stairs. You can integrate it into your existing Connect boxes for multi-story access or freestanding on a slab. All models are NFPA 1402 compliant and gain you ISO credit. The only thing that you can't do on an affordable drill tower is live fire training. Call Steve at 844-55-TOWER or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. When it comes to performance under pressure, you need equipment that won't let you down. That's where American-made Snap-Tight comes in. They are built tough for firefighters. Snap-Tight hose is engineered to perform under pressure. Plus, Snap-Tight hoses are easy to deploy and even easier to rely on with unmatched heat resistance to abrasion and extreme temperatures. Here's the best part. They offer guaranteed shipping and 4-week lead times. Visit snaptighthose.com to learn more or find a distributor near you. Snap-Tight Hose, reliable, durable, and ready when you are. FirestationFurniture.com provides a complete line of quality furniture for your firehouse. Firefighter owned and operated, they understand the strain firefighters put on furniture, and they offer furniture that's built to last. Visit www.firestationfurniture.com for more information. And finally, the big show. FDIC International is where the fire and rescue service come together. Be there April 7th through the 12th. 2025 at the Indiana Convention Center to learn from the absolute best, see the most innovative products and services from leading companies, and recharge your passion for the industry. So there you go. Killer lineup of sponsors for this show, Chief. They lined up for you, I promise you. And
you know what? We can't do anything without the sponsors. I talk about FDIC, and when we do conferences, Corey, you do it. If people have vendors lined up, I'm always like, we need to make sure we provide enough time, because a lot of what we do doesn't happen without sponsors, without vendors, without the people who want to step up and make a difference in people's lives. And I think we overlook that sometimes. So I'm always glad when you mentioned it at the beginning.
No, absolutely, Chief. And again, those conferences so important for the education and spreading the message and everything. And the sponsors make them happen. So absolutely, always visit the vendors. Audience is here, checked in. They said great scrap to end the year. They said, here we go. Jennifer Ashdown said, phew, slid in on 2 wheels, but I made it. Joshua Wise says, let's go. Let's roll. There's some LF. So stoked for this. Just cracked a fresh bottle of bourbon. There we go, Luke. All right. Dana Larkin said, let's go. Okay, so we're psyched up. Let's kick it off with a great open soft toss right out the beginning. I want to discuss with you. Of course, everybody who knows me knows one of my favorite books written is Pride and Ownership. It had such a huge impact on me starting all of Firehouse Vigilance, the impact it had on my personal career. And I've talked to you about that before, and I can't thank you enough for that. But I want to discuss with you the cyclical nature of the fire service and how timeless the concepts are, specifically like what you wrote about in Pride and Ownership, but overall, in a general sense, how cyclical it is and timeless the concepts are.
Well, when you talk about how timeless, and one of the things, and you know me very well, is I'm a big history buff when it comes to the fire service. Way too many fire academies. I think they missed something. On day one, I do a program called Our History. This should be day one of the Fire Academy. You and I talked about this before, and we're missing this opportunity with brand new firefighters. The moment they walk in the door and sit down, before you get into safety and all this other stuff, you need to sit down and tell them why we're here in the first place, why we exist, why we do what we do. And it's kind of fun to look back all the way back to 1736 when Ben Franklin created the first volunteer fire department, and see how things have worked. Things have changed from what we did back then to where we're at today, yet how we've hung on to some of the traditions and some of the things that make the fire service so special. The one thing that is always, and one of the things you mentioned Pride and Ownership. Thank you for doing that. But in there, I talk about, Corley, about the fact that, we were, it was the who's who when the volunteer fire service first started. If you look at Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and all those different people and everything else, and then it became those in the neighborhoods helping their own community. All good friends come to the aid of their neighbor, and all those different sayings you hear, and so on and so forth. And it's always been there, that whole volunteer thing. And then we started moving into the career side as well, and started, eventually balancing that out. And it's always been the people that are willing to step up, take care of the towns they live in, the people around them, and make a difference. And I've said this before, I will not apologize for it. I'm very partial to the fire service. I think firefighters are some of those, first of all, progressive thinking, but some of those special people I know on the face of the earth for what they do. I was a cop a long time ago. I love law enforcement. I love my law enforcement family. I love school teachers. But yes, I'm very partial to the fire service. Now, and you mentioned that, and I've got a couple of things sitting here on my desk in front of me. When we talk about leaders, one of my mentors, Chief Tom Freeman, gave me one of these. It's, the stones they engrave and everything else, and it's something I've used at the end of classes. Some people make things happen. Some wonder or watch things happen, while others wonder what has happened. And it's like, who do you want to be? The one that makes things happen, the one that watches things happen, the one that wonders why. I've got a couple others, but I've got something that touches on this whole the timeless concepts of the fire service and how we have been, Corley, and we always will be there. And everybody's a Field of Dreams, Ray Kinsella fan, right? I did my little bit with the White Sox and the whole baseball thing and softball and so on and so forth. And I've got this little thing that I've had just sitting on my desk for the longest time when it comes to how we've always been there and we will always be there, no matter what they try to do to us, no matter what they throw at us, whether it's COVID, back in the old days, hazmat, whatever it's been, the fire service has always been there. We've always taken what they've thrown at us and we've conquered it. I used to tease my old man when he was a firefighter in the 60s and 70s. I'm like, what did you do? You guys didn't do EMS. You didn't do hazmat. Oh, shut up, Ricky. We did. He would get on me and all that stuff. But if you remember the line towards the end of the movie where they're out at the field and Ray's brother-in-law tells him you're bankrupt, you're going to lose the farm and all that. And James Earl Jones stands up and he says, in his voice, he does that, people will come, Ray. He does that whole thing. And the quote from that movie was from him, if you remember, the one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, it's part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good and could be again. And I'm kind of dramatic when it comes to those things, but I'm like, that's us. That's us. In the 50s, it was pretty cool to be a firefighter. Then we kind of took kind of a back seat to a lot of people. And then after 9/11, There was a lot more attention to fire service after the sacrifices made when our family members and those are citizens that were murdered on that day. And we're still losing firefighters in New York City, police officers. But, and it's like it ebbs and flows, to my Masons out there. It ebbs and flows where you're a hero 1 minute and you're like, people are out there saying you make too much money, especially those in politics. You're making too much money, or, look at their firehouses, look at what we're getting them, and so on and so forth. But then when all hell breaks loose, and I've said this before, when the dust settles and everybody else has run for the hills, you see three groups of people stand in the streets. You see the men and women, our armed forces, our police officers, our firefighters, because they put their hand up a long time ago and said they will. And I just love that quote from the movie Field of Dreams, because it's us. People have turned us backwards for a while. They tried to get rid of the company logos. They tried to sterilize the fire service, and that didn't work. Then they tried building firehouses that look like insurance companies, buildings, and banks. Now they're building new firehouses that look old. We're building museums. We're preserving our history once again instead of throwing it out. So it's something we erase it, that we rebuild, and we always seem to come back to that steady line that I don't know, our lifeblood or whatever, what the fire service has stood up for tradition wise. And I'll tell you, that's what I love about it. I love the tradition of those who have dedicated their lives a one of selflessness. I just love that. So when it comes to the, when you said timeless, it's we've been there. We will always be there. We're not going anywhere. So if there's anybody out there thinking that the fire service is not what it used to be, get in the game. There's another baseball thing for you. The firefighters today are some of the best I've ever been around. They've always been the best, but don't let anybody shit you. We're doing great stuff in the fire service today.
I love that. Get in the game. Firefighters have marked the time. I love it. I absolutely love it. And yeah, there's fire emojis and preach coming at you. No. Yeah. Brian Eisman, man, whenever you need just a little refresh of your passion, listen to Chief Lasky. 100%. I love Pride and Ownership, the book, and it's written in a very easy way to flow, and I'm kind of following that today as I name this show Pride and Ownership in 2025. How timeless the principles are of it. So some of the stuff I'm throwing at you is straight up out of the book, but seeing what's the same and what's different, or what's the nuance. And I want to touch on the roles: firefighter, officer, chief, because that is the three. When you really melt it down, it's the firefighter, the officer role, the chief role. How much the principles remain the same, and discuss what's changed in those roles.
You know what? I kind of mentioned this a little bit already. When it comes to the firefighters, we're talking ranks here, right?
Right.
When it comes to the firefighters, I'll be honest with you, and I have a lot of guys that have been friends with me a long time. I have a lot of mentors from way back when. I think firefighters are smarter than ever. I have one of my many zero tolerance policies. One is you don't bully or harass anybody in my firehouse. You don't lie or steal. All right. And stop the whole blaming generations things. I think I told you this once before on one of your shows. I asked my old man, who was a gunnery sergeant in the Marines in Korea, old tough Polak firefighter. I said, what was it like hiring people in the 60s? And my dad, just cut me. I went off on his tangent. He goes, you mean with them damn hippies? Now I've had to explain to young people, who hippies were, and go back to like Forrest Gump and talk about Jenny and all, Ma Jenny. But my dad went on his tangent about hippies and all this stuff for the 60s. And we tend to forget history. We tend to look, my dad, they had challenges hiring people then. And if you're smart enough to read people, we talk about size up, right? We tell people all the time, we're so good. My tactics and strategy, we're to size up and all that. But we really do kind of suck at it sometimes, because we misread the fire, we misread the smoke, we stretch the wrong hose lines, we screw up apparatus placement, all things that the basics that were too good to go back and look at. It's the same thing. We don't read firefighters. There are some firefighters that I know I have to be a little bit more gentle with. And there are some firefighters I go up to and say, what the F are you thinking? And they're going to go, wait. They don't get all hurt, all butt hurt, all stuff that, I tell people all the time, I was never scared of my Lieutenant Bill Allen, who was incredible, one of the best bosses I ever worked for. I was afraid of disappointing him. But every generation, I think, brings something to the table. what happens is we're too quick to blame people. And I'll say it, it's going to piss some people off. How arrogant you have to be to think your generation is better than another one. They were saying the same thing 100 years ago. They were sitting at firehouses. Back in the horses' day, there was firefighters sitting there around the table, going, these kids these kids nowadays, they have no idea about the damn horses and them steam fire engines. They were saying the same shit back then that people are saying now. So rather than pound or beat up on a generation, how about being a smart person who would figure out how to reach out and seek out what their abilities and their talents are? Everybody goes through instructor one. They usually just go through the motions to get it done so they can move on. But when you get into Edward Thorndike's laws of learning and how adults are different from children, and Maslow's motivational pyramid hierarchy needs, and how adults learn and live, you start to realize that we're all ticking the same way. We were just brought up differently. I love the guys, Corley. I know I ran down this rabbit hole too long for you, but
no, good. I love rabbit holes.
These kids, they don't know the difference between a standard screwdriver Phillips. They go, is that this one or is that this one? They don't know what mixed gas is. They don't have how these kids. And I'm like, yeah, and there's probably a lot of stuff you didn't know when you first walked in here too. I mean, I don't know anybody that was that perfectly walking. Somebody grabbed you and said, come here. Somebody, which you don't remember, rolled their eyes at you when you weren't looking, going, oh, another one. Yeah. Leo Stapleton, his book, 30 Years in the Line, God rest Leo, famous commissioner from Boston. One of the chapters was when he was a lieutenant was I ever that smart? And he was talking about the probie walked in going, God, when I was a probie, was I that smart? Meaning, we all walk in there thinking we know everything and we don't. The whole thing about learning something every day, but firefighters, are some of the smartest people I've been around. And I'll say this I think I said this last time with you. All the old guys talk about the kids. We got these kids now, these kids. And all the kids call the old guys dinosaurs. Yeah. And a lot of your viewers have heard me say this before. I'm going to say it again. To those that call the old guys dinosaurs, remember this right now. Right now, at this very moment in time, this very second right now, the smartest people in the world, our scientists, right? The smartest people in the world are still studying dinosaurs to learn from them. Okay. And on the other hand, we do a lot of classes for our armed forces. I have met some kids who are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So instead of picking apart generations and stereotyping people and doing that, how about you? I think we just need to smarten up as leaders and figure out what makes them tick, and realize that you can't paint the fire service with one broad brush, because you're going to have a firefighter that's got 30 years on your department as a firefighter. That's totally different from the kid that just walked in the door and everybody in between. So I think firefighters, like I said, are some of the smartest people in the world. Figure it out. Be smart. Tactics and strategy doesn't apply to the fire ground. Use it towards understanding your people as well. Everybody posts on social media all this stuff about leaders nowadays, but nobody ever talks about that. We're all quick to assess blame on different generations instead of going, all right, is everybody a throwaway? And so let's do. We get into this blaming people, and I just don't buy that, because I go all over. Like I travel all over the country, and I see amazing people of all different ages, and you know what, and I should be cussing, but I'll say this, and I've seen shitbirds too. It's like, I've seen guys in their 50s and 60s doing stupid stuff. I have to handle it as a consultant. I'm like, so do I blame their generation or just the individual? Well, how about we look more at the individual that's doing something we don't think is right, rather than blame a whole generation for that. Seriously, if somebody thinks there's people that are older in life that haven't screwed up or aren't screwed up right now, just read. Well, I can't say read the papers anymore, but to some of the young guys, that's a big thing. Newspapers used to read. I know you don't print anymore, but anyway, I'm just saying, enough with that. So the firefighters, I think they're some of the smartest people in the world. When it comes to what we do, I think the training's better. I think we've come full circle. You can't go to any social media feed with videos without every other video is somebody, the whole nozzle thing, right? They got the baseball cap on, their bunker pants with a t-shirt, they're on the nozzle, they're teaching some young guys how to work the line. You got guys cutting holes in roofs, you got guys forcing doors. You can't scroll through any of this. We're back. We got away from that. We're back with the hands-on. People are out there doing it. The training is better. The training is much more current. We're taking old time skills and meshing it with new stuff, which is fabulous. The company officers need to understand that they are the linchpin. We say this, our company officer academy, between the firefighters and the chief officers. It's one of the most, I want to say, the most important positions, because firefighters are the hardest working people out there. You're that tie between the troops and between admin, and you're the one making it all work and take care of things and taking care of people. But understanding that there's a point where you have to officially make that buddy to boss transition. I saw somebody post something saying, I'm never going to change. I know I got promoted lieutenant, but I'm never going to change. Well, you better change, because you're no longer, you're no longer part of that little cliquey group anymore. You're not, you're out of the club. And when you make that first company officer rank, you're easing out of the club. When you make captain or battalion chief, you're out of the club. You're not the same person anymore. You're a boss now. You're their leader. You're the one that truly is keeping them alive, is sending them home. And nowadays, liabilities, people are suing you. There's all kinds of things. So you better step up your game and realize that, as a lieutenant, as a captain, as a company officer, you are that linchpin. You're the one that's mentoring the future of the fire service. You're the one that has a say how things work in your firehouse. You're the one working and developing on that senior firefighter that's making things happen for you. You're the one that's finessing that leadership finesse with the battalion chiefs or chiefs above you. You're the one that's out there with your guys. Fire chiefs do not build reputations for fire departments. Firefighters do. That company officer is the school teacher, is the parent, is the adult in the room that should be making sure they're producing the best product they can for the people out there we serve. And when it comes to the chief, I've said this for years and years and years, Corley. To a point, I've wore this out. If you're not willing, as a boss, you can apply this to all three ranks if you want to. Okay, we'll do that right now. If you're not willing to make this profession better, to take care of your firefighters that work with you, and the community you serve, then get out. Seriously, if you're not willing to make this profession better every day, make it better, and in doing so, you better be taking care of the firefighters that work for you or with you or alongside of you, and the community you serve. Then why are you here? Go out and roll donuts or something or whatever, but you don't need to do what we do, because there's people out there that are going to bed tonight that are counting on you. Yeah. There's little boys and girls out there that not only do they want to be you when they grow up, there's the elderly. And I think we kind of lose track of that once in a while. I think it's up to the leadership. It's up to the chiefs that are out there to make sure that they're not afraid to have that kind of stance, Corley, to have that stance. They say, you know what, we're either here to make a difference as a department. We're either here to take care of the community we serve and each other, or we're not. It's the movie Hidden Figures, where he says we either all get to the top of the summit or none of us get there. We either all get there together as a fire department or we don't. So that being said, like I said, I just, sometimes I wear that 1 hour. I'm like, if you're not willing to do that, then get out. If you're not willing to take care of that stuff, but those three areas, if you will, I think we're getting better. In fact, I know we're getting better. The training's getting better. The quality of product we're producing out there. One of my favorite senior firefighters, John Copeland from Louisville, Texas. I asked Cope, being a mentor to him is just huge. He's a Marine. He's a veteran. And I asked him once a long time ago, he probably never ever asked him. I said, why is it such a big deal for you to be a mentor? And he said, Corley, says, because I want to have a say in the future of my fire department. And I went, how cool is that?
Oh, yeah.
And so like I said, I have no problems telling people, if you're not here for the right reasons, then you need to push a reset button, or it's time to go do something else, because we don't need you. And I'm saying it. We don't need people that are working against us. We don't need the posers. We don't need the people that are the pretend firefighters out there. We need people who are here for a reason. We need people that are truly here to be a brother or sister, and that you don't pick and choose which calls are important or which calls aren't. That you're truly here all the time. and want to make a difference in your community. If you're not going to do that, then all of us are lost. I don't know if that kind of hits where you're looking.
Oh, brother, man, it's a beautiful, and everybody agrees. If you get a chance to read all the comments that scrolled by, absolutely. I got first questions coming at you from the audience. James Platt coming at you said, Chief, how hard of a decision is it to move from a department to a department? Because in your 40 years, you've served at different places. What's some of the best lessons you've learned as you've started over at new departments, especially coming in at different levels?
Well, a lot of it depends on the particular situation. When I was a younger firefighter, I had some time on the job. Don't get me wrong. I was a career firefighter and a trained officer and truck guy and all this. I was a part-time firefighter officer and I was a volunteer firefighter officer. I was teaching for the state academy and the chief association, teaching at 2 hospitals, teaching paramedic school. I was into all that and so on and so forth. But I was given an opportunity to move to a department to take over the training division. And I was like, well, here's my chance to have a greater impact. And I guess that's where I've always looked. I've always been very competitive. And that competition starts with myself. I've said this before, the bar you raise is not for others to follow. The bar you raise is for yourself. When I talk about the definition of pride and ownership, it's like you can't describe it from the inside looking out and outside looking in. Pride is a personal commitment. It is a personal. There's no such thing as proud teams. There are proud individuals that make excellent teams. It's what separates excellence from mediocrity. And it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better yourself. There's always going to be someone with a shinier fire engine, a newer firehouse. The bar you raise is for yourself, not for anybody else. It's like, so Rick, what did you do the last week? Oh, I went to auto extrication technician 1. Really? Now what are you going to do? I'm going to auto extrication technician number 2. You should always be looking to raise the bar. What do you have to do to be better? And keep going, because the day you hit what you think is a plateau is a very dangerous cliff to be on, man, because I learned stuff about this job every day. So that being said, it kind of depends. So I had that opportunity. I'll be honest with you. I worked for some incredible bosses. Oh my God. Chief Bob Rubel from Bedford Park was incredible. And I worked for another one that I seriously, jokingly say I was America's worst fire chief. But I got to a point for my own sanity that, after so many years of being a battalion chief and assistant chief, that was time for me to seek opportunities elsewhere, and was asked to offered and asked to move out to North Idaho, to Coeur d'Alene, another great fire department, serve as fire chief. So for me, I was there, and then my son, when he was little, with my first wife, moved down to Texas, down to South Lake. So we wanted to be near them. So for me, it kind of dove a couple different places. But I have a lot of people ask me a question: how do you make that adjustment, or when do you decide? I've had young firefighters, Corley, come up to me and say, I got to talk to you. I just got hired. I've been on the job in Beeperville for like a year, but my dream fire department just called me. They just called me because they weren't going to have an opening, but a guy left. God, I feel so horrible because Chief Sorensen went out of his way and said he was so excited. How do I tell him? And I'm like, he's probably not going to be too happy, but right now this is about you. 25, 30 years from now, who's going to be there? It's going to be you and your family, and you're going to be living on decisions you make earlier in your career. I said, who is going to be happy is the next kid, the next guy or gal on the list at that department. But you've got to do what's right for you and your family. Now, as a new firefighter with some experience going to the department, when you walk in there, the first thing you do is figure out how to fit in. Don't tell them what you know, show them what you know. We've talked about that plenty of times. You come in there, they don't want to hear stories about what it was like in Booperville or whatever. They want you to become. I took somebody at one of my departments here not too long ago, and I pointed to the door on the engine. I said, see that name? That's where you're at now. This is where you're at. So it's easier to make that adjustment as a firefighter move to a department when you're willing to step in there and do whatever you can to fit into their routine, to what they're doing, to their thing, and become one of them. Become, absorb yourself into the woodwork, into the rigs, into the place. As a company officer, there's a lot of people doing lateral moves. It's the same thing. Knowing that you went in there, somebody hired you, that obviously you have something to offer, go in there and make a difference in the lives of the firefighters around you. Train them, Don't be the know-it-all. Don't be the screamer. Don't be the holler. Don't be the bully, whatever. Be the lieutenant or captain that's going to go in there and again, make a difference now from a different perch. And as a chief, you know, it can be difficult, especially coming in from the outside, especially when you don't know the history of sometimes in some places all the wrong things that are going on there. And you're in there trying to fix stuff and you don't know where the landmines are and where they aren't and so on and so forth. The best thing is, you lead with passion, like our buddy Eddie Buchanan says. Live your life based on your pride, on your honor, and your integrity. Make decisions based on what's right. And that's what's popular. I tell people as a consultant, the nice thing I have is there's no brother-in-law in it with me. I'm the most objective person we have in this firehouse because I haven't been here 25 years. I can come in and go, well, that ain't right, and that ain't right, and this ain't right. The key is figuring out how to make that happen, because some people end up being intimidated when you try to make some moves. Some people are trying to hide stuff that they shouldn't be doing in the first place. And if they would just let you help them push the reset button, as long as it's not something illegal, things get a little bit better. But I think it depends on the person's situation. If you're a boss and you're going somewhere as a chief, why are you going there? Is it just to be a fire chief, or is it you want to go somewhere to make a difference? I had a mayor tell me not too long ago in a big metro city, he goes, Rick, what I like about you is you don't have to be a fire chief. I got to be a fire. You don't have to be a fire chief. You don't need name recognition and you don't need a pension. And I don't mean that egotistically, because I make fun of myself all the time. Egos eat brains. I'm just saying, well, he's right. As a boss, go there and your goal should be to make a difference, to have a positive impact. Don't just blow things up unless it's something really bad. Go in there and try to figure out what pegs you can knock over now and which ones you have to hold off on to get there. But I think that really depends. I'll go back to what I said initially. It depends on the individual and what their reason is for going. Is it because they want to go to their favorite fire department or where their buddies work? Is it because they have an opportunity to go be a company officer somewhere, make a difference on a shift? Or have they outlived their leadership lifespan as a chief? Right. We've talked about that. The guys don't get tired of themselves, bored with each other because they're promoting, retiring, moving stations, but they get tired of the one chief after a while. So maybe some of these guys have just outlived their leadership lifespan. It's time for them to go, done good. Now it's time to move somewhere else and fix it. Or do something. So
no, I love the perspective, because not a lot of people have the perspective, and especially the successful perspective. And
Carly, real quick, if I may throw something else in there.
Absolutely.
So I work for a couple of the search firms, the headhunters. And one of them told me years ago, I was talking about a chief that was like on his 6th chief's job. But over like 30 something years.
Okay.
And he goes, Rick, see, that's the problem between you firefighters and the business world. And I go, what? He goes, in the business world, that's how you get ahead. As long as you're not going backwards. He goes, in the business world, you work for XYZ Corporation, and then you have an opportunity to promote and move to another one after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or whatever. And you do that. And then you move here. He goes, the tough part for us, and you'll see this helping me find replacement fire chiefs or departments, is you find someone that's got 35 years in one place. You're hoping that there's something inside of them that's going to have them have more of a global vision of what's going on instead of just where they spent 35 years. And that's no disrespect to anybody that just did 35 years in a department. Please don't.
Right. No.
But it's
but you can't become very siloed, and you know the way you did it. I mean, let's be honest.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Please, again, if you got all those years in I know guys that have spent some 30 years in a department and went and been a chief somewhere else and did phenomenal because they were going to the conferences, they were teaching, they were out there, they were talking, staying current. What I'm getting at is the guys that, like you said, they get all siloed up and they stay in the same place. And while they're there, they don't leave the confines of their borders. They don't go to conferences. They don't go to other people's fires. They don't watch the fire porn, watch the videos. They don't talk shop and all that stuff. And slowly they kind of lose touch a little bit. Like I said, I've seen the guys at 30 years that do phenomenal, but they're the ones that are out there, moving and shaking. So.
Love it. Along the same lines, Dana Larkin checking in with you up from the Pacific Northwest. Which do you think holds more pitfalls? Moving as an officer to a new department or moving up in your own?
More, God, I can't give you more on that one because it depends on where you're going. Moving into a new department as an officer, if you don't know the history, if you don't know, it's like we used to tell people and young firefighters, when you get in a job, the guy that says, "Hey, Corley, come here for a second. All right, let me tell you about that guy. Let me tell you about this guy. That's the guy you should be worried about. The one that's giving you all the dirt on everybody else is probably the one you don't want to hang with. So not knowing the department that you're going to is going to have enough challenges, especially if it's hard to do your homework on them. Some places that are not too far from you, man, you got all your buddies, you can talk to people, and they're filling you in and so on and so forth. So that's a challenge when it comes from that. And then, so you said as an officer and then as a firefighter, or was it as a chief?
Just as an officer in both, but staying in your own department or moving to a bridge.
Okay, or moving up. That's right, moving up. So moving up, the hard part is, the FDNY, roughly 11,500 people on the suppression side, like 5,000 EMS, 1,800 civilian, 250 in dispatch, 2,200 guys on duty or more, 300 firehouses, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
When you get promoted to lieutenant in the FDNY, I think this is still the case. My buddies tell me, like John Sulkin tells me, they tie you to a balloon and they shoot you in the air and you drop into one of 300 firehouses, but you will not go back to your borough for a year. If you're in the Bronx for 10 years, you can't go there for a year and work as a new lieutenant. You have to go to a new firehouse and new firefighters where they don't know you. Look, everybody picks up the phone and talks to everybody, but where they don't know you. And you're going to have to figure out how to make things happen. And if they say in the Navy, grow your sea legs. Right. So, but there's only so many Chicagos, LA, Fort Worth, New York, all those departments where you can get lost for a little bit. Most of the departments out there are 1, 2, 3 stations. It's like the 1 to 3 stations, 4 stations, then there's a jump to like 9 or 10. Then it goes to like the 30s. If you look at the numbers, it's hard to get lost. So they know you. They know your weaknesses. They know your strengths. They know where all your skeletons are hidden. They know the stupid stuff you used to do when you were a young firefighter. But so where you've got to be careful there. And you know what? That actually might be the more challenging too. I think about it. I had a lieutenant who I loved and adored. My softball team, we played on the major level softball, a big level. And we used to travel the country, and a lot of these old guys would come and bet on the games. These old timers would come and bet on the games. And he would go with them. And I was honored. He'd fly to Florida, watch us play, Arizona, whatever. And he was great. And there's 10 to 15 guys in this firehouse we worked. And, when work's done, everyone else, we might be playing cards toward the end of the day. And he made deputy chief. And the first day he makes deputy chief, he comes in and we're finishing playing cards. And he goes around to a lieutenant. He leaves. The lieutenant comes over and says, "Hey, Mike says we can't play cards anymore." I said, "What?" He goes, "Man, we can't play cards. It doesn't look good." I go, What do you mean it doesn't look good? He owes me money from the last game we just played. So now that he made deputy, everything's changed and we can't do stuff. So there's some things you need to change and wake up and not be stupid with your safety practices and things like that. But you got to remember where you came from. I think that's one of the biggest challenges out there when you're moving up and even going from another department is remembering where you came from. There are volunteer fire chiefs that have forgotten what it's like to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, knowing your people have to go to their real jobs in 2 hours, and that they have volunteers working 2 jobs, trying to put food on the table, money into a college fund. They're still trying to make fundraisers, drill night, meeting night, and calls. Their kids' recitals and soccer games. On the other hand, there's career fire chiefs who have never slept in a firehouse. They have no idea what it's like to be working a double overtime when you're up all night. You got sick kids at home, side jobs, all that stuff. I remember going to the firehouse with John after we taught and we had dinner. We went there for coffee, and I sat down in the kitchen on these stools, and I went, "Oh," I said, "Who bought the Fred Flintstone furniture?" For some of our younger viewers, that's an old cartoon from the 60s, and they were cave people. And they used to sit on boulders, man. They'd sit on them. Imagine their ass cheeks back. They sit on boulders. And I'm like, "Who bought this horrible furniture?" He said, "Oh, the chief did." Chief said, "Them lazy boys won't be them lazy boys." Like, when's the last time that guy's worked in a firehouse? Good bosses remember that people make mistakes. They're called on accidents, not on purposes. They remember what it was like to fail that exam. They remember what it was like to show up late. They remember what it was like to be living from paycheck to paycheck when you're a young firefighter, to have maybe financial problems at home or marital problems or whatever, a sick kid. I think one of the greatest challenges we have is we forget where we came from. We think with each level we need to puff up our shirt a little bit more, shine up every trumpet we add to the ones on our collar, and forget that, they you can't shit a firefighter.
Right.
You
Yes.
can't fool them. So, as you're moving up within your own department, the changes you make have to be for those of safety and for good leadership, not because it's a quirk or when I get to be a lieutenant one day or a chief, I'm going to change this shit because it's something you just didn't like, a patch or a name or no more logos and all that stuff. But I think they're both challenging. I think the one that's probably got the biggest challenge is moving up within your own department because they know you.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love the answer. Absolutely great question, Dana. Thank you for it. I want to hit on the two families, and I want to ask you a question because especially with scrappers and people listen to the scrap, is that they are very passionate firefighters. They are the ones that typically go to conferences and go to classes and are very plugged in. And what is your advice for balancing that passion for this job, which is the greatest calling on earth? I believe it with all my heart, and your family and the passion you should have for your family. What's your advice in that regard?
Well, I talk about this in a lot of my classes, not to keep beating up the whole pride and ownership thing, but there's a whole chapter on it. Our two families, the first family, the one at home, and the second family, the one at the firehouse. I always tell people when you confuse the second family for the first family, you can end up with a first wife who lives in Texas with your son. I tell people, bottom line, I tell them this: I want you to love the job, man. God, I want you to love the job. People that don't love what they do suck at what they do. People that don't love what they do suck at what you do. I won't even give you very good. You're okay. You're just mediocre. If you don't love what you do, you suck. Period. Okay. But getting back to that whole, I want you to love the job, but I want you to love your family more. Whether that's your significant other, your mom, your dad, your grandma, grandpa, your kids, whatever. Life throws at you what life throws at you. Relationships come and go, and all I understand that. But the greatest leaders I've ever studied, had the honor to work with, alongside, or for, all have one thing in common. They all value family. Colin Powell, which I adore, I miss him. He's passed away, Colin Powell. Think about it. The greatest leaders out there that you ever worked with or for care about family. They value family. They value and if they value your family, all right, and their family, they're going to value those families that are out there. We used to put up the big board with our kids. It was pictures of all our kids. Some guys put their cats up there or an ultrasound. But my thing was that when you walk into the firehouse or the headquarters, when the public sees pictures of our kids on the wall, if they know our kids are important, they know their kids are important. So, but I've seen good guys and gals ruin marriages over their love for the firehouse. I've seen volunteers lose jobs over the love for the firehouse, but I've seen so many people that forget. It's such a big deal that when there's a line of duty death, one of the bullet points they send home on that paper for your spouse is, here's the things to look for: loss of sleep, this and that, loss of appetite, this. Don't be offended, but they're going to want to go hang out at the firehouse more than be at home. They're going to want to go back, and it's so easy to fall in love with that job. It's so easy to be so excited to go back to work that you forget who's at home. I'm married to my best friend. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know how she puts up with me, but she's amazing. That being said, it's easy sometimes to forget who's at home. Some of them listen to scanners. Some of them are, every time there's a story about a firefighter getting seriously injured or, God forbid, killed on TV, they're thinking of you. So you got to strike that balance. That's, I don't care how tired I was when I went home. I always had time to play with my kids. I always had time to play with my kids. I always had that time. My best buddy in the whole world, my little brother who passed away when I was younger, he was 8 and I was 12. He lives in John Salka's body. My best buddy, John Salka. My brother is alive in John's body. I remember we were sitting up on the stage, about 3,000 people at FDIC, me, John and Bobby Hall, do issues and challenges. And somebody asked if you could, each one of us, if you could do something different, what would it be? And John said, I'd spend more time with my family. And this coming by one of the most respected fire service leaders, fire ground officers, firefighters in the world. I would have thought, well, I wish I would have trained harder. Because I wish I would have spent more time with my family. and you can't turn back the hands of time. Either you're going to focus on who matters most, who's going to be there for you when you're 90. Like I said, I love my brothers and sisters. I love the fire service, but my family comes first. And I've made some decisions recently in my career where I'm like, you know what, this was a bad move, man. I got to make sure, we're doing what's right for our family and our loved ones and everything else. But it is about striking that balance. So I'm building a strong foundation, living your life based on who's most important to you, and that should be your family.
Ooh, there you go. That's a timestamp. And a lot of people absolutely timestamp 2147. Timestamp that. No, absolutely, Chief. There we go. Rob Fisher coming at you wants to know, Chief, I don't know if he means, well, we'll ask. Do you think the American Fire Service has a leadership issue at the top ranks?
I think we've always had a leadership issue at the top rank. Now, I have an article in the hopper. You know how it works. So you've written so much stuff, and you got books that have been published, and it takes a while, right? I've been with fire engineering since 1995 with their editorial advisors. With FDI since they bought it, in '96. Any tactics, any incident command, leadership, RIT, Mayday, motivational leadership, whatever. I'm one of the reviewers for it usually, but and I'm blessed and honored to work for David and Diane now, and all the years I've been with them. But I have an article in the hopper called "The Squeaky." We may have talked about this last time. The squeaky hinge, not the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The squeaky hinge. And so for our viewers, or if you're listening to this, if you know building construction, most doors have 3 hinges on them. Some may have 4, but most of them have 3 hinges. The door behind me, 1, 2, 3, has 3 hinges. If you also know building construction, one of those 3 hinges on that door is squeaking. It's gonna be the bottom hinge first. The bottom hinge is gonna be the one that squeaks. It's gonna be all, it's how it works. Squeak, squeak, squeaks all day long. By the end of the day, you have an anxiety attack. Well, somebody get to WD-40 and freaking squeak, fix the freaking hinge. It drives me crazy. And what they tend to forget, Corley, is, and if Rob asked a question, there's 2 other hinges on that door that have done the same and equal amount of work, but you haven't heard a peep from them. Which that means out of just under 40,000 fire departments in the United States alone, we have a ton of our fire service family up in Canada. I'm with them a lot, but just dealing, and we have just under 40,000. That means there's thousands of great chief officers in a couple of months. Sometimes, they're all months. No, they're not. I met some incredible fire chiefs that lose sleep every night over their guys and how well they're doing and worry about their families and everything else. That means there's hundreds of thousands out of 1.2, 1.4 million firefighters, that are great firefighters. So I think we've always had issues. I know maybe I'm a little bit tainted on it because I do so much consulting. I go out there and deal with votes of no confidence on fire chiefs. I help fire chiefs prepare for their first chief's job or whatever, that kind of stuff. I think it's always been an issue at the top. One of the biggest challenges we have, and I'll end this question with this, we're probably the only profession in the world that does nothing to train people for the next position. Mm-hmm. We front load firefighters, Corley. We put them through the fire academy, whatever you call firefighter 1 and 2, basic firefighter, intermediate, EMS, maybe first responder, EMT, maybe in paramedicine, hazmat awareness, first responder, all this stuff. We front load you. We get you out in your volley department. You're doing Monday night drills, or you're doing your daily, your CE and all this stuff, your shift training. Then a couple years later, they promote you, you're driving the engine, and then you make lieutenant or captain. And where do we send you?
Yeah.
That's why the company officer academy is such a big deal to John Salk and I. And then you want to hear something scarier, put chief in the title, battalion assistant, deputy, district, division, chief of department, and men and women running the whole joint receive the least amount of training. Well, they will National Fire Academy, we go to chiefs conferences. I understand that. Nowhere else do we do this. We keep promoting people up into these positions without giving them the tools to be successful. And that is a cultural problem. It's not their fault. I ask people all the time, we just did a battalion chiefs academy in Providence, Rhode Island. And I asked the group, I said, so in this whole region, if you're going to be a new battalion chief, where do you go for training? And they all start like, so where do you go for training? Where do you go for training if you're going to be this? So I think part of that is we need to blame our system. I don't think we're doing a good enough job preparing people for the next level. And it just keeps going from lieutenant to captain, battalion chief, district, all that different stuff, all the way up to that. So yeah, I think it's always been a problem at the top, but I don't think it's as big as it is. Watch the news. I do a lot of work with Fox News with them, and I'm honored that they still keep me. But the stories that teams seem to sell are the bad stuff. Nobody wants to hear the feel-good stories that often, all that stuff. Well, there's gazillions of great kids out there, but we want to talk about the handful that are problems. The fire service is chock full of incredible firefighters, officers, and chiefs, but we want to focus on, just the mutts, which there are some mutts out there, don't get me wrong, but I think it's like that compared to this incredible group of people out there. But we got to get better at preparing people for the next level.
Right on. You think we're trending that direction with things like Providence, Rhode Island had actually brought you in to teach and it's growing, or do you think it's trending in the wrong direction?
No, I think it's growing. When John and I started, we've always been doing the company officer stuff and the battalion chief stuff for years. But then when we retooled things, we came up, we call the Company Officer Academy, start teaching it in 2011. Now we're seeing more and more captains academies, company officer development, all this stuff. And battalion, and I love it. First of all, it's a big fire service. I don't care, what I'm saying, but I think we're seeing more and more of it. The problem is it's budgetary. It's how much money that most of the people attend our classes quarterly come on their own.
Yeah.
There's some departments that most of them come on their own. Well, not everybody has that money, can't take days off from work or day trades or pay for hotels or airfare and stuff to go somewhere. So the opportunities sometimes are not as much as we're teaching them all the time. We're doing a lot of them. It's a big fire service. So I mean, as long as the programs that are out there are being written for the right reasons and people are truly looking at what a lieutenant or captain does or what a battalion chief, what a chief officer does, what do they do? And let's train them to that instead of just putting a sticker on a certificate. I think we'll make a difference. But I think it's getting better.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. Sorry. Pulling up my notes here. Tons of stuff. I'm trying to look. Yes. Thank you, Rob. I would love to talk about marketing your fire department because I think it's even more important nowadays than it was when Pride and Ownership first came out, which when I first read it in Pride and Ownership, no one ever talked about it. So that was like groundbreaking and mind-blowing to me at the time. But I think it's even more important now.
Well, it absolutely is, because the days of people bringing bushel baskets of money and dumping them on the kitchen table of the firehouse are gone. If you're not out there invested in your community, whether it's sitting at Little League games, reading to children, promoting literacy, obviously changing smoke detector batteries. The smoke detectors is simple. Doing safety, checks where you're doing a safety survey of someone's home. Whatever you're doing, the days of hiding in a firehouse don't work anymore. And we all go out and try to, I help a lot of bargaining units. I help a lot of people, on the labor management side. And sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We want, but we don't go out and we haven't figured out the whole marketing thing. The law enforcement has a long time ago. They got scared. God bless them. They go out and scare people of crime. They have classes that teach chiefs of police and sergeant how to market their mission. We really don't do it. When my surrogate godfather, Chief Alan Brunacini, wrote his customer service book for the fire service, people, oh my God, firefighters were haters. Oh my God, you got to be keeping up. I'm like, and then, we started doing stuff in Louisville, Texas, that the guys were like, they were out of their minds being able to help people. And I've said this for a couple of decades now. Most of what we do to make a difference in our communities has nothing to do with red lights and sirens. It's stopping, change someone's flat tire in their car, to get them off the road. It's like I said, I'm a big one on literacy, and we have a reading program we do to kids, promoting literacy and reading contests, and teaching a child that it's okay to read, showing them that it's not just important, but it can be fun too, and that knowing how to read helps you in life. There's so many things going on out there. Lately, I've seen a lot of, especially around the holidays, see the coat drives, a lot of the presents, a lot of the toys for tots are helping with the Marines and all the different things. But all throughout the year, we have this ability as firefighters to do all kinds of cool stuff. My wife and I said the other day, if we ever won the big lottery, we're going to go and we're just going to knock over every food bank out there. We're going to pay off every kid's food card in school, because if you understand what hunger does, and I'm not trying to run down that path too far, but for years I served on the Clear Channel Advisory Show. They own most of the radio stations, and we used to do these quarterly meetings with all these big monkey bucks. I don't know how I ended up there, but the lady next to me was like this big national director for the food banks. And when she started throwing us statistics out there, how many children, the only meal they eat, the only food they eat is the free breakfast and lunch they get at school, and the satchel of food they take home at night or on the weekend that they're usually sharing with their brothers or sisters. And when somebody has to decide whether they're going to pay their electric bill or feed their kid, that when you're hungry, you can't study, and all the things it does to affect people. And we've got these fire engines that we can park in front of a grocery store and feed a fire truck. And, I'm saying sometimes it's not just stretching hose and punching holes in roofs. The marketing, going out there and being visible, but marketing our mission, going out and telling people what we do. I don't know, some guys, they think they're out there showing off. I go, it's not showing off when you're showing the public and reminding what we do for people. I agree with you. Marketing is huge. All the different programs, our school zone program, parking a fire truck at a banner, slowing people down the first couple of days of school, the after the fire programs. There's so many things. The life vest programs, give away free life vests at all the beaches, swim areas to help prevent drownings. All the stuff we could do for people out there, instead of just going into a neighborhood and canvassing who doesn't have smoke detectors after 3 kids get killed. Why are we not really pushing that ahead of time? And really putting the clamps on people to make donations so we can go out there and give free smoke detectors away and stuff like that. But the marketing is absolutely, it's how we exist. The departments that do the best when it comes to contract negotiations, when it comes to budgets, when it comes to build a new firehouse and firefighters, are the ones that know how to go out and market their mission. Very few sit back there, Corley, behind cages and doors and get everything they want. If you do, you're some of the luckiest people in the United States and Canada. Right. I'm just saying, you've got to be out there marketing our mission, and that's truly what we do as firefighters, and not be afraid to do it.
I love it. I know, and how easy it is to get insular and I mean, just close the bay doors and just hide inside the firehouse. I mean, it is.
It is. It's one of those things, yeah.
And the toxicity breeds, but yes, absolutely. One of my favorite topics, whenever I get to talk to you, is the pomp, ceremony, and tradition of our job. I love it, man. I absolutely, and you've already touched on it a ton, just through talking about history and everything like that. But why it matters that we stay connected to it, and how it won't happen unless you make sure it happens in your fire service, in your firehouse. You've got to do it on purpose.
Well, you do. You said it. I think last time we're together. If we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Right.
And if you go back to the very beginning, some of the traditions of the fire service, from gold leaf and red paint on rigs to outdo the company next to you, to the uniforms and the badges and the helmet shields and the stuff and all these different things. But if you want a firefighter, let's talk about that. If you want a firefighter to care about the job and do a good job for you, then he or she you must make them put their hand up and take an oath. Swear in front of God and everybody, do the best of their ability to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the state laws of your state, your laws and Constitution of your state, and the ordinances and rules and regulations of your department, your city. Get them to put their hand up and take an oath. Show them it's serious. When you promote someone, show them it's serious. Have a promotional ceremony, a collar pitting ceremony. But when it comes, I mean, the cornerstone. I'm a Mason. For our Masons out there, the cornerstone ceremonies. The Masons only do cornerstone levelings in public buildings: police, fire, schools, libraries. That's it. They don't do it for private businesses. I couldn't believe how my guys got into that, Corley, when we did one of the firehouse. The guys are like, Chief, they've been doing this like 3,000 years. I go, yeah, I know. We built King Solomon's temple. No, but they were just so into it. The young guys, doing that, the honorary firefighters, the honorary fire chiefs, the lifetime members, celebrating retirements. This whole, I just want to go out of here quiet like I started, is BS. It's like leaving your guys with a line of duty. That's when you don't allow them to come to the firehouse either for a ceremony or come your last day and just cycle through the firehouse to say, hey, good luck, man. Congratulations. This is not, nobody ever, it's on the back of my challenge coin. One of my sayings, not only the never forgetting means never forgetting, but once a firefighter, always a firefighter. And that being said, once a firefighter, always been a firefighter. There's very few firefighters out there. Like I say, there's very few people drive by that warehouse in August. Oh God, I wish I could work that press again.
Right.
But there are firefighters that drive by firehouses going, God, I wish I could go and sit around that coffee table again.
Yeah.
You know, so that being said, if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us. Be proud, not arrogant. Be proud, not arrogant. Celebrate what we do. Celebrate those around you. Do your awards ceremonies. Figure out ways to recognize people. I know some lieutenants academies do their own little things in their firehouses for their guys. A lot of chiefs do the challenge coins. I think are awesome. They hand them out for certain things. So no, if we don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And and I'll say this: it takes someone very special to be a firefighter. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing arrogant, pompous, or conceited with saying that. It's okay to admit once in a while, what I do is pretty cool as a firefighter. And sometimes we get so macho and it's, I was just doing my job, that every now and then you need to take a post-it note, stick it on a dashboard of your pickup truck or your car, and say, what I do is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just remember how cool this professional is. Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Chief. No, that's one of the reasons yeah. So I've already got you penciled in for year-end show 2026, and we're going to touch on more topics again. But I love this question. One of my favorite questions I've been asking since the very first scrap is book or books that you think firefighters should be reading.
One book? Can I mention more than one?
Yeah, you can mention as many as you want. In fact, I think the record's around 25 or something. But that was Kyle Romagus, and he went on a tear of just listing books. But it don't have to be fire service related. It could be anything you think firefighters should be reading.
Well, number one, I've said this before, Colin Powell's book, It Worked for Me.
It worked for me. Yeah.
It worked for me. It's a book, when he was a 4-star in Kuwait and all that, and CNN interviewed him. He went through the Powell leadership doctrine that he wrote, and all these years later, I think it's his last book, he just said, that it worked for me. All those things, being responsible, he's pissing people off, never walk past a mistake, all those different things. I will say this, and I know it sells out everywhere we go, The Fire Scene by my best buddy, John Salka. It's 20 years of articles in the back page of Firehouse magazine that Fire Engineering published for him. It's a great book, The Fire Scene. Anything by Frank Viscuso, anything by Brother Frank. If that doesn't get you fired up, something's going on with your check your sugar level if that's the case. The Fire Officer's Handbook of Tactics by John Norman, my good friend and mentor. In fact, it sells so much because I have so many promotional exams. It just came out not that long ago, but the official book of Andy about Andy Fredericks. That's a great one. You can go to Fire Engineering Books and find a lot of these books. The Functional Fire Company by our good friend, Chief Scott Thompson. That's an awesome book. I could throw a couple of shameless plugs out there for like the Book of Search and the 9 L's.
No need, but thank you.
I think you know who wrote those. Someone very close to you, wearing a hat and a headset right now.
Yes.
But and then this is not necessarily a book; it's a website that I think people should be tuned in. And it's Bill Carey's Data Not Drama.
Yes.
Data-not-drama.com. And Bill talks facts, not fiction. He doesn't talk make believe. There's great articles in there. The statistics and the data he does, he's just absolutely amazing. Like the guys, our chief doesn't allow us to do vertical ventilation. Why not? It's too dangerous. Well, Bill's like, where are you getting that data from? We're not allowed to search above the firefighter without a hose line. It's too dangerous. What'd you get? So it just check it out, folks. That's a great website. Data-not-drama.com by Bill Carey. But I'd say, and I could go on. Those are some great.
Brother, what an amazing list right there. So yeah, amazing. And for a shameless plug, if you want to see Bill Carey talk, he was on scrap number 81, and I probably need to get him back on because I just looked it up to see which one he was on, so you can hear all about Data Not Drama there. But absolutely need to get him back on.
No, Bill's awesome.
No, I love it. So, which takes me, I got books done. This is a new thing I'm trying to do to build my network so I don't become insular in my own network. I'm asking the guest to give me suggestions for who they think should be on the scrap or invited back onto the scrap that they would like to hear. So mainly it's to grow my network, but who do you think?
Well, I think you've had all the guys I'm going to mention. I think you've had on before. You've had so many great guests, Corley.
I'm the luckiest dude in the fire service, without a doubt.
Obviously my best friend, John Sulka. John
Yeah.
is, look, I've been best friends with him since the mid 90s. We've been teaching together since the mid 90s. The best friend I've ever had in my life. And I learned something from that guy every time. My wife the other day, she goes, "You guys are so cute," because we'll get on the phone for like 2 hours at a time. She goes, "You guys, we talk everything. We don't just talk, but we talk shop. We talk." She goes, "You guys are so cute. You're like a couple little kids on the phone. What are you doing? What are you wearing? I don't know. What did you, what do you have for lunch?" But John Sulka, I know, Scott helped you. I think he wrote a forward for your guys' book. Um, for your book, Scott Thompson, the chief of the counties. Scott's awesome. Anthony Avillo, I think you've had Anthony on before. Frank, I mentioned Frank Viscuso.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you had John Norman on before.
I have not. He's one of my white whales that I haven't had on yet. So
John is phenomenal. I've been friends with him a long, long, long time. He was one of the very first group of instructors I used for the Save and Roam program. We rolled it out. John Norman, Sal Marchese, Donnie Hay from New York City, Ray Hoff from Chicago, the best man at my wedding.
wow.
One of the Backdraft brothers. His wife Barbara, my wife's maid of honor, and myself. But John, not only is he incredible and all the stuff he did, the busiest companies in New York City, but after my mentor, Chief Ray Downey, got killed 9/11, they just handed him, "Here's the keys, go run SOC. You have it." And so, I mean, the challenges he went through with that, and then he's got a couple more books he wrote. John would be awesome. Picture this, though. I mentioned a couple people. When John Sulka was a firefighter riding backwards on Rescue 3 in the Bronx, Pete Lund was his lieutenant. Riding next to him, just a few of the firefighters right next to him as firefighters: John Sulka, John Norman, Nicky Giordano, Jay Jonas, Jay from the Miracle of Stairwell B. I mean, I would have loved to just been a buff just riding out to watch that crew. I mean, that's just amazing. But I think John Norman would be a good one for you.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I may even try to hijack your contact and make that happen. So
absolutely,
I'll work through you. He is, like I said, he is like the white whale kind of, because I've not been able to make the connection and get him on yet. So, which takes us to the 5 questions for firefighters, which you are very familiar with them, because you'll be official. You might be the first person to ever do 3 different versions. So
I know
tonight.
You scare the hell out of me each time. I'm like, oh God,
This is the brand new version tonight. Never before been asked. We've worked on these. Some of these, the Vigilantes worked very hard to come up with. We spitballed them in the Discord server, and we worked on these. So some of these have been germinating for a while, but you're the first one to ever go. So are you ready? Of course, there are no right answers. It's only your opinions, and the points are arbitrary, passed out by me with the help of the audience. So here we go. Chief Rick Lasky, the first time to ever do the 5 questions for firefighter, version 4.0. Number 1, you're the probie once more, and you have to cook the meal at the firehouse. What is your go-to meal?
First of all, if anybody out there is making their probie cook the meal for them and their probie's not a chef, you're an imbecile. All right. The meal's the most important, time of the day, whether it's lunch or it's dinner. You don't have somebody that doesn't know how to make spaghettios and meatballs making but all right. So the probie, all right, probie, you've got to make the meal. I cooked for 9 years for 10 to 15 guys. I got recipes that are in cookbooks and stuff. I still, to this day, I love doing that. But I think first of all, comfort food's a big thing in the firehouse, because I think your go-to is spaghetti and meatballs, or Italian sausage with some garlic bread and salad, because salad's the easiest thing in the world, man. I mean, a gigantic salad bowl that they can dig into and do what they got to do. Garlic bread's easy. If you don't know how to make garlic bread, I don't know what to say about you, and pasta's pretty simple. Even if you don't make your own gravy, like I used to have to. It's not spaghetti sauce where I come from. My Italian grandma would beat me with a spoon if she had heard me say sauce. But anyway, and Italian sauce is already made, or make your meatballs. But the nice thing about it is you can drop it and go to a call, come back, reheat it. There's usually always leftovers. Who doesn't like cold or reheated pasta? It's a little bit fills you up, right? Is that the whole carbs things for the football teams? Get them all carved up before they go. So a little bit will fill you up, unless you're just a glutton, you don't overeat. So I think it's easy. You're as a probie, no disrespect, but you're boiling some noodles. You You're doing some gravy. You're cooking up a protein, on the side, and doing some garlic bread. So I think spaghetti's always been, the pasta's always been the, yeah. I think that's the go-to, because it's fairly simple, especially nowadays with YouTube and the food
Yeah.
channel on your phone. It's pretty simple to figure that stuff out. But I don't know too many people in the Firehouse that don't like, unless they're doing the carnivore, diet or something like
Right.
that. I think that's pretty simple.
I love it. And there you go. And the audience agrees. Spaghetti, ditto. Yes. Good question. Max points, max food points. So there you go. Out the gate, setting the bar high. Max points for number one, first time ever answered. Now, you've had this question before. So I think you may be, I'm not 100%, but I think you're the first person to ever get asked this question twice. So you'll be the first person to have two. I could be wrong on that, but it's Jobtown. It's time. You're en route and responding, like the scene from Backdraft. Where
Q siren.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always the cue.
Okay.
The cue's roaring. What song are you playing while en route?
Oh,
now, you had the one the first time. I should have looked it up so I could tell you what it was the first time, but doesn't matter. There is a Spotify playlist where all of these songs are.
Corley, it's and I've had these thoughts before, because you got to be careful sometimes what kind of songs you pick, because of the lyrics sometimes. What sounds maybe really cool, like, I have some NHL buddies, and the Dallas Stars for the last time, when they come on the ice, they play that whole "Welcome to the Jungle" song, which is pretty. Welcome to that whole thing. But I think a great song, going en route to a fire, and you have to listen to the words. I think the words fit a firefighter pretty damn good. It's "Love Runs Out" by One Republic.
Love Runs Out. Okay.
By One Republic, and I think they spell One Republic all together. But "Love Runs Out" by One Republic, and I'm big into lyrics and listening to songs and going, look, I picked out James Earl Jones from Field of Dreams, but there's a lot of cool phrases in there, lines in that song that have to do with us, and about not giving up and setting a fire and being there. And, when you're at your worst, we're there for you, and all those kinds of things. It's almost, it's a much slower song, but, "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother" is a great song, but it's not going to get you. That's going to be one an awards banquet that you're going to play during a video. That's going to, tug at your heart, but you need something that's going to get you jacked up and fired up when you're on your way there. But yeah, for your listeners, your viewers, go download.
I'm gonna have to go check out the lyrics on "Love Runs Out" by One
Love
Republic.
Runs Out by One Republic, but the song is pretty cool sounding.
All right, Josh Everson did not see that coming. Max points.
I can play it right here for you. Go ahead.
And Gary said, "Are you even a proper fire department if your apparatus doesn't have a cue?" So
Exactly.
he said max points for the cue and the song. Yeah, and One Republic makes a scrap debut, so they've never been put up there. So max points so far, 1 and 2. Number 3, whose boots, past, present, or future, would you like to spend 24 hours in?
So are we saying in or working with?
I'm saying in. You are them, like Quantum Leap, just for an older reference that I think you'll get.
Okay.
The audience we may have to explain to, but
kind of going back in time, if I could pick one position, what would it be?
Or future, a past, present, or futures, but yes. You get the idea. And again, this is the first time the question's been asked, so we'll dial it in as we go, but you're the guinea pig.
You know what I'd have to say? Let me go back to, and it just popped in my head because we talked about it already. Be the company officer. Being a firefighter is the best. Look, being a firefighter is the coolest thing in the world. But you don't have much say on sometimes what happens on your shift, when you train, when you're going to do things, how you're going to run out the door, whether everybody's dressed on the rig or not, whether everybody's getting off with their tools, whether we're, that whole end of it. Some of the chiefs get a little bit lost. I think some of the chiefs out there do a great job. Don't get me wrong. And, as Brunacini would say, you can't shit up. It starts somewhere. But if you're asking me, man, oh man, I think the company officer, this is the person that has the ability to mentor the future of the fire service, has the ability to make sure that he or she, their firefighters, are dialed in. Like I said, they get off the rig. They're out of their minds. They're geared up on every call. They don't pick and choose what calls they put their gear on for. They go out the door every single time they go out the door. They're going to a job. If you go out the door and pick or choose when you're going to get excited, you're a fool. Every time you go out, we have killed firefighters in this country. We've burned them to death at trouble fire alarms. I can show you the line that we've killed guys where they didn't have their tools, didn't have their radios, their stuff. Every time you go out the door, you should be dressed, ready to go, ready to do battle the moment you get there. Until they say we have nothing, nothing means just nothing showing, just means that nothing. Every time we go out the door, we're ready to go. Well, the best person to do is the company officer, one that's riding the front seat, the one that's standing in the living room with you, that can make sure that you're doing what you can for that grandma on the floor, that grandpa, for that little kid or the house. And, there's more. I just remember Bill Allen. It's Bill Allen's not egotistical control, his ability as a lieutenant, when we were going to train, how we were going to train, the tenacity behind it, the enthusiasm with it, when you showed up for your shift or for drill night, how early you were, trying to beat your lieutenant in there because you want to, so I'm here 2 hours early. I still can't beat you. I mean, all that stuff. I'd go back to being. It'd be the company officer.
Oh man, I'm fired up now. I'm ready to go back and be a company officer. I really am, man. I'm excited.
And it's no disrespect to the BCs out there, like you said, these other guys. That each and every one of them makes a difference. Whether you're in fire prevention and training or whatever. But man, to have your firehouse and go, you know what? I don't care what they're doing down the street or whatever. This is my house. This is my house. These are my troops, man. We're going to be the best. We can't be the best. I don't want to be.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, no, I'll leave it there. Max triple max points was in there, and people said timestamp that dressed and ready to go. Timestamp max points for quality company officers. There you go. Number 4, you were retired. You have to imagine this. You're retired. Okay. Sitting on the beach, enjoying Mai Tais. What do you want to hear through that grapevine, the retired grapevine, that the people you used to work with, how do you want to hear that they describe you to the new people that get hired?
Well, first part of that correlates hard because I'll never be retired. Okay. Sure. That's a whole thing there. And I don't drink alcohol, but
okay. They're virgin Mai Tais.
Okay. There you go. There you go. God, you know what? I've been asked this. I was asked this at a conference up on a stage that we were doing a panel, and kind of what I said about some of my mentors. I think probably the most important thing is, God, I'm wrestling with this because it's going to sound egotistical, and I'm not that way at all. I may not have always agreed with what Lasky said or what he wants to do, but I know this. He always had my back. He was a firefighter's fire chief, man. He was a firefighter. And there's people that say that, but don't understand what that means. They think being a firefighter's fire chief is a guy that lets you skate, doesn't make you train, doesn't let you become the buffoon. That's not a firefighter's fire chief. Firefighter's fire chief understands what you're going through, what it took to get there, what it means to be a firefighter, what it takes to be a firefighter, how to be great at what you do. And they actually, just working for them makes you want to be better. I worked for bosses that just working for them made me want to be better. So we could do a whole show on just that, a firefighter's fire chief, what it means to be a firefighter's fire chief. Like I said, who always had the backs of the men and women that worked with them or for them, cared about themselves. I cared about their families. We said this before. And then the other thing is, I think one of the things we miss out on is that you care about your firefighter's future. If you have their best interests at heart, then you're doing everything you can to mentor them, train them, develop them, even sometimes they don't want it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, that was a Bruno quote when he was a captain of Phoenix. Hey, all right, anybody who wants to train, meet me at the back of engine 1. Anyone who doesn't want to train, meet me at the back of engine 1. Let's go.
Let's go.
That nothing else matters. If you don't have your people, we can't be the best we can be for the people out there unless we're doing the best we can for the people in here. And I'd hope somebody would. That's when it comes to being a firefighter's fire chief. I think that's what you have to look at. And I think I'd love to hear that. But I'll say this: my buddy John Salk at his retirement ceremony in his day in the Bronx, one of his young firefighters next to me. He got over there. Everybody was doing the talks. Jay Jonas is up there. It was unbelievable. 500 people in the Bronx at this firehouse, and one of the young firefighters next to me, they got tears in their eyes. And I go, I know him because I've been there 100 times riding with him. I'm like, pretty hard. He goes, no, Chief, you have no idea. I said, no. He goes, no, you have. He goes, first of all, he could be a son of a bitch to work for. He goes, he's a damn safety Nazi. He goes, look, if Chief Salka tells you to back out of a building, you better back out. You better get off the rig with your tools and your gear and all. He goes, but I'll tell you right now. He says, I'd follow that guy anywhere. He says, I'd follow him to the gates of hell with nothing in my hands but a Halligan. And I sat there and I got emotional because that's my best buddy. But I'm like, what a compliment. You know, and when you hear somebody say that he or she is a firefighter's fire chief, there's more than just that statement. There's got to be the whole package. I would hope that someone out there would say that. You know, I mean, I know, you know, when you're fire chief, you can't help but piss people off sometimes. But I would hope that.
I love it, Chief. No, and easily, as expected, max points on number 4. And it really, I mean that. So, final question. This question will never change. So you've had it before. It's heavy fire and searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
All right. So you know me and Salka. He's an engine guy. I'm a truck guy. So he's always blowing me crap in every class. You know, he does the joke. Well, you know, why do truck guys cut holes in roofs so they can see what the real firefighters are doing? All that stuff. But I've never seen anybody beat a fire out with a pike pole with a hook, right? But I grew up. My dad was a roofer, was a firefighter. I was a roofer, as a truck guy for a long time. For me, it's got to be VES. It's got to be not VEIS, vent, enter, and search. Okay, we won't get even down that. I'm just saying, yeah. For me, the challenge of, first of all, for any of us, if you're on the nozzle or you're on a roof, but on the nozzle or making an interior attack of searchable spaces, as David Rose would say, searchable spaces. David says it all the time. The only reason we go to fires is to search. The only reason we stretch attack lines is so we can search. The only reason we ventilate is so we can search. Searchable spaces. That's the whole reason we go there to that, whether it's searching for the fire and or for any victims or whatever. But there's always been something to me that's the ultimate rush. You know, you don't have a nozzle. You know, now it's all real, man. All your decisions. When do I go in? When do I not go in? How long can I be in there? Can I get the door closed? All the different things I have to do. I think the ultimate, if we're talking just VES, not just searches in general, vent or search, I mean, that's it. Fire blow. They can't get in the front. This may be the only person. The close the door campaign's been one of the best campaigns we've done in the fire service. Everybody puts the pictures up. The hallway's gutted, the bedroom, the other bedroom looks like. I remember Sal Marchese, my good buddy from 142 Truck in Queens. He said I had fire out every window on the side of his tenement except one. My bucket guy goes in and drags the guy out, got him out. He goes, the only window they have fire. So we pull up, we go, oh, nobody's alive in there. We're telling people and telling kids to close the door, but then we're not going in there. You know, so sometimes the avenue is going to be via vent, enter, and search. I think that's one of the ultimate. Let me back to, I think that's a tie with basement fires for the ultimate challenge. Okay. Having to beat your way down into a basement that's on fire or in there for vent, enter. For me, it's vent, enter, search. Yeah,
so many max points flying by. So many solid max points.
I'm sitting there going, you talk about getting fired up. We talked Q sirens already.
Yeah.
We talked the meal, and we're talking vendor and search. So let's
the beauty of the fire service.
Shit out of fire right now. So
I love it, and that's easy. 5 for 5 max points, officially setting the bar for version 4.0 of the 5 questions for firefighters. And that officially makes it 280 scraps in the books and officially brings an unbelievable 2024 to an end for the scrap. Rick Lasky, thank you for being with us this evening. And if someone wants to get a hold of you for more info, how do they do that?
You know, I think the easiest thing, I used to give my email address, but I put all my contact information on my website. So chieflasky.com. Our publisher helped me change all my emails. Everything's to Sammy Hiddle. I love Sammy Hiddle, Captain Sammy Hiddle from Wichita. He just messaged me, we're doing this. Somebody's trying to impersonate me on Facebook or something.
Really?
Yeah. So on my business page, on my Facebook page, the Facebook gave me the little verified thing, but he's like, is this some jackass or whatever? I'm like, yeah, it must be. But no, I think, yeah, just chieflasky.com. And if I can help you out, I'd be honored to.
Awesome. Now, one of the, let me see, I'm almost housekeeping, but one thing, and I told you about this, is we are going to do this at every scrap. This is something the Vigilantes actually came up with. It's right here at the end. The people who are still listening here at the end it's called the Scrap Challenge. The Scrap Challenge. And how it works is at the end of each scrap, I'm going to ask the guest for a challenge to the scrappiest of the scrappers, the hardcore of the hardcore, and it was invented by the Vigilantes. And so, and again, like I said, if you want to make an impact on the scrap, become a Vigilante. But Rick Lasky, what is your challenge to the most hardcore scrappers that are still listening? No pressure. You are the inaugural first run, set the bar person for this, but you're the kickoff challenge thrower. What's the challenge to the scrappers?
Well, depending on how much time they have, I say this a lot of my classes, Corey. I tell people, especially nowadays with social media, this sounds so corny. Watch every fire scene video out of Stockton, California, Sac Metro, Wichita, Kansas, or anything out of Louisville. Just you watch what goes on in Stockton, California, and you watch what goes on in Wichita, Kansas. When they get off the rig, they have their own minimum company standard that has nothing to do with the department's minimum company standard. When the parking brake hits, how fast you better be inside, on air, fighting fire, flowing water. Look, nobody's perfect, folks. Nobody's perfect, but I would tell people, watch every video you can from Stockton, from Stockton, California, Wichita, Kansas. Then I'll throw a Sac Metro in there. And then go to whatever social media platform you want, as long as they support videos. Watch every video you can on nozzle work, advancing and working with nozzles, flowing water, because we suck without water. Okay, getting water to the seat of the fire as quickly as possible. Ventilation, whether it's high side, low side, and search and rescue. There's a lot of great things we do out there, but if you don't know how to stretch a line, you suck. If you don't know how to search on your hands and knees with a tick, you suck. If you know how to ventilate, we're all going to get our ass kicked. So those three things have to be done at every single fire tech, ventilation, search and rescue. Those three things have to be done. So there's a gazillion. I was watching videos early today. There's stuff. I was sharing stuff. I just shared one from, I think, Sac Metro. Oh my God, these guys, Corley, I know we're running out of time here. These guys pulled up at a fire scene. It was freaking. I was standing, going, go. They were freaking. In fact, I posted on my Facebook pages.
Okay.
It was just a great video of hitting it hard, getting up, boom, and in they went. There's so much out there that you can learn from. You don't have to necessarily leave the comfort of your firehouse sometimes, man. You got that phone in front of you, you got that tablet. Start watching this stuff. Start seeing how other successful people are doing. You want to be successful, look to the greats, man. Look to the greats. There's your challenge.
There's your challenge. That's the first one. And I may give more guidelines to people in the future as we need them or whatever, but thank you for kicking it off with the inaugural challenge. Sac Metro, Wichita, Stockton. Go watch the videos. And the big three tactical priorities at every fire: water on the fire, flowing water, searching, and ventilation.
That's it, baby. That's it, Corley. Yes, sir.
Love it, brother. I don't think you could be more succinct. I absolutely love it. Housekeeping, Vigilantes. If you're not a Vigilante, go be one. If you're not, I don't understand why not. You get to have an impact on the scrap. Most importantly, you get to come to the Vigilante after party, which will be starting as soon as the show is over. Chief Rick Lasky is invited. I did not even think to talk to him about it beforehand, so he may or may not be there, but the guest is always invited. But let me see. Let me pull up. I'm pulling up my schedule to see who is coming up next week. It is James Gearing. Man, if you know Behind the Shield, absolutely unbelievable podcaster and on a mission to change the fire service, especially in regards to mental health, suicide, our shift schedule, our work schedule. So that should be amazing. Then following that, Steve Schaefer out of Boston Fire, followed by Eric Hankins, who we had to reschedule. And then, it's 2025 is shaping up to come out of the cannon like the proverbial cannonball. So,
and you're the only guy that could pull that off. You're the only guy that I'm telling you, Corley, your list of guests are phenomenal. I know you see it. I like and share all your shit all the time because there's so much great stuff coming out of your show, brother. You're doing it.
Bro, thank you, first of all, because I'm super humbled and honored. But I am the luckiest dude in the fire service that people keep saying. Yes, thank you. I'll leave it there because awesome. I'm terrible taking compliments.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Once again, Chief, thank you for spending your evening with us. Audience, I can't ever thank you enough because you do make the scrap magical. Without you, I don't know. It just, you guys tuning in live, bringing the best questions and throwing them right down the middle so that the guests can crush them. I really appreciate you. Remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tones stay silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.